Hello there. Welcome back to Around the Grid. Last time around, we finished up the season with AlphaTauri. We did win the year here. Perez beating out Verstappen. Show ending up in 6th. Unfortunately, we had to let Rick go, but he did end up 12th total. Same points as Stroll, which is impressive considering he, well, didn't do a full season. But yeah, he did end up winning. And our next team on the menu is going to be Haas, who only scored a single point last year. So let us get right into that. New season prep, which means, as mentioned, we're going to be switching teams onto the Haas, which should be a little bit challenging. We have new regulations coming in, which means that potentially we could have a fairly interesting job ahead of us. But yeah, Red Bull does not care for us. We are lacking a little bit of rating to get them, but doesn't matter. The team we're interested in is Haas, and they are very happy to sign us up as a team principal. So let's do that. Season objective is 9th, team rating 2 stars. They have their 9th best car, 10th in everything else. And if we have a look at the staff here, Schumacher and Sargent in the car. So this could be a bit of a challenging season for us. We'll have to see what is available in terms of drivers, and we're also going to see if we can get rid of some of the bad marketing things here, like the manufacturer. Can't do that. Factory events, we can bring that down to 20. Barely going to make a difference. Hospitality, going to try and fix that. Driver appearances, as you can see, someone has to make an appearance, and honestly, I think we're going to sacrifice Schumacher for that. Although, to be fair, we need money more so than development for the drivers. So I think we'll just do it like this. Both of them. Development shouldn't be a big issue here unless we go for, talents. Or rather, racing another driver. But the control rating, we do definitely want to get that done down there. We don't want to have any extra damage than what we need to. So has probably some of the worst sponsor obligations on the grid. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I think we can deal with that. And we have very low balance too. You can see that just 10 million. We're getting a preseason lump sum of 25. But if you consider the fact that we're going to have to most likely going to struggle with actually getting parts for the first race. That's going to be our first challenge. And our second challenge is going to be, well, just keep up going for the entire year because we don't have a lot of money again. 10 million, 25 lump sum, all of it is basically going to go into the engine. So while I would like to pay more money for merchandising here, I don't think we have the capability right now. And honestly, we might actually go all the way down just to make sure that we can get a car on the grid for the first race. Because the way I think we're going to be making money is rather than getting flat income per race, we're going to try and get a better car from the get-go. And that way, make our money from sponsor goals rather than anything else. Because, yeah, our financial situation is not going to be good. That's the best way I can describe it. And as you can see here, incoming, outgoing, 12 million. I hope this is included with the engine, though. We'll have to see. Because we might actually not have enough money for the engine. Okay, so suspension, no research. They did a little bit on the underfloor. Barely nothing. Barely anything on the side pods. Yeah, this is kind of why the AI is so bad compared to the player. You can kind of see it here. Just want to go through this. They've done 122 base project with basically no real investment. So the car's going to be absolutely horrible. Like the AlphaTauri is going to be, I think, ahead of any car by miles. Maybe not the Red Bull. We'll see. But you get the idea. So we'll have to see exactly how we handle this. And now we have to pick the powertrain. I am favorable to Red Bull, but as mentioned before, Renault, Ferrari, both of these are good. Mercedes is slightly worse, but it's basically just when you want your engine to be at its most powerful is what decides your pick. And I generally can deal with the degradation from the Red Bull, so we'll take that a little bit of extra power, but over the course of the season, it's not going to matter much. Okay. I thought it said 43 million there for a second, so I thought we were happy, but yeah, just 14 million. Now let's have a quick look here at the car analysis and how does our car stack up. So acceleration wise, that's purely the engine. At least we start with fairly high cooling. That is good. But I want to have a look at the Alpha Tauri from last year. And as you can see, it's probably the best car right now. It sucks at the cooling department, but good in top speed, acceleration, DRS, you name it. Very, very good car from looking at these stats. So I think it's going to be good. Now, the Red Bull is not that good, particularly low speed cornering. They're actually the only team ahead of us. They're ninth. So that could be interesting to see what we can put, what kind of drivers we can pick up. For now, though, let's just have a quick look actually at the driver market. I think that would be good to see what is available to us. Hamilton, free agent. He's open to negotiation. There is absolutely no reason why we would not pick him up. Let's just have a look at our drivers first and see what we want to do in terms of letting them go. So Schumacher currently is about 80 average. He's very balanced in where his stats are placed, except for reactions. But with the exception of that, he's very balanced. So honestly, not bad at all. Sargent is kind of the same, but he's probably a tad worse than... probably just slightly worse than Schumacher. So if we're going to let someone go, probably going to let Sargent go first and then Schumacher. And honestly, that's fine. They're both 25, 26 years old. They have limited development going forwards. Sargent has a bit of a longer contract, but honestly, it's not a big deal for us. Let's see here. Propose a contract to Hamilton in Car 2. Let's give him a 3-season contract. We're probably going to have to pay upwards of 15, 20, 25 million. You get the idea. So let's just start at 15, because again, drivers are pretty aggressive in how much they want paid. And we'll also pay him $500,000 on a sign-on bonus here. Now, this could backfire tremendously because, again, we need money to develop the car. So signing him before the first race could be better. But if we can pick him up this early, I would be really, really happy with that. And then we might go for maximizing one car. Okay, so far it's looking good. But we need to lower the amount of seasons, which is fine, and up the money, which is also fine. So let's up this to, say, 18 million for now. Again, this is salary over the course of a year, so it's fine to up it. 2 seasons would be funny to have Hamilton and Haas for 2 seasons. Let's see what he says. That's still too long, so it might just be that he's actually retiring immediately. So let's see. We're down to medium, which means that we have a couple of chances remaining. Let's give him 22.5. And if that doesn't work, I'm actually willing to go up to 30, just to make sure that we get Hamilton a title this season, basically. So, yeah. See, that's too low. Salary could make him stay in the sport, so... Last chance. 30 million, I think, is what we're going to go for. We're also going to give him, say... I don't think we can afford to give him a race bonus, that's the thing. Let's put it like this. If I give him $500,000 in race bonus, and he wins 10 races a year... That's an extra 5 million on his salary, so let's be a bit wild and put in some extra money here. 32.5. And also, I'm gonna be a little bit on the wild side. 150,000 for first place. He declined it. The bonus was fine, but the threshold was too low. Oh, I have one more chance. Let's say you finish top 5. Or do you know what? Let's just get rid of that. Because it seems like we're happy with everything else. Yeah, we need that bonus. We can still negotiate with him, though. His patience is low, but he's allowing us to negotiate. This is actually kind of interesting. Let's say 200,000, top 3. Client, it's too high. I guess because he doesn't have a team that we can negotiate with him. But we need him. That's the thing, we need this man. It's still too high, okay. Let's put this down to 100,000 and say 10th place or above. And it's basically just going to be an extra 2.4 million that we'll be paying him over the course of the season. Unless, of course, he crashes. declines even that. What if... as long as you finish the race. Contract declines. So yeah, we're kind of getting into a point here where I just think he is retiring fully. We can try and up this to 35, for instance, see how he feels about that. Yeah, it does seem like he is actually retired and the game just hasn't caught up to that yet. Nope, there we go. 35 million. This is gonna be expensive. That's the thing. This is gonna be incredibly expensive, but it's gonna be fun, and that's the most important part. Probably gonna have to cut down that part a little bit because it was a pretty long negotiation. But Hamilton is Hamilton. There's very few drivers that would be a lot better than him, so it is worth it. But this is probably gonna force us to keep Mick, at least for the time being, and maybe not. To be fair, that Alonso's degradation should be quite high. We'll do a detailed scouting and maybe sign him before the first race. But Alonso Hamilton would be amazing to have in your team, to be honest. Let's also have a quick look at the staff. 82, 77, 85, 84. That threw me off there for a second. The name Roman Gosguin. Thought it first was Grossman. Yeah. Okay, looks like we're fine. 3.3 second pit stop times, though. Oh my god. Not only the pit stop time, but the chance of making error here. Okay, so let's just get this sorted as well. This is gonna be basically one heck of a fix. Let's just put it like that. Okay, let's just put in a bunch of basic pit stop drills. I'll have a look at this, see what I figure out. So here is the pit crew training that I've ended up with. We focused on wheel guns because basically that is where the biggest chance of error can occur, which lowers it by about 3%. We do need to focus a little bit on used tires off and the jacks as well later on, as well as the car release. But for now, we just focus on wheel gun because, again, biggest chance of error. You can change that over here, or for individual stops themselves. Feel free to, change that yourself. We have also put in, as you can see, 9 gym days. And 9 days of gym is barely enough to improve the time slightly. So, might want to switch out our pit boss. We'll have to see what we have financials for. Although Sven here isn't too terrible. He does have lower training aptitude, which is gonna, have slower development, which isn't too great. If we take a quick look here at sporting directors, we have Wheatley, and quickest one is Perone. But honestly, I don't think we can negotiate for anyone that are gonna be a lot better than him. They're gonna have their own drawbacks, if you will. And financially, switching out people is always kind of expensive. I think what we're gonna do now is go ahead and start developing the car. And we are lacking in everything. So we're gonna go ahead and do the basics, the basic thing we do, which is to make a car that is initially focused mostly on just the cornering attribute. It is the best way to make an early car that can compete. Interestingly enough, top speed can and will be important later on, but early game, having the cornering speed to your advantage is gonna be just best way to do things. We are going to do it rushed, and we are going to be putting all of our dev time into this underfloor, so it's going to actually come out incredibly good once we do the second edition. And for the second part, I do think that we might want to do suspension. I'm thinking about the second period, but we are going to go all in with the gamble of getting this championship during this season. I think that's going to be the best way to do this, and if we can succeed, we'll have a bit of a raid boss in next year's has, potentially. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to go. So this is what we'll do. Put in safety time, focus on the cornering, and already here, as you can see, this is going to boost us up quite a bit. First in high speed. To be fair, though, the other cars are also going to be developing, so this isn't the all, it's not going to end everything. But that alone is a huge gain. So we'll go ahead and do this. And as I said, once we make the second edition, it's going to be even better. Now, financially, doing these rushed designs isn't really viable. As you can imagine, it's going to be expensive to do this. And of course, we need the money to actually make these designs once they're done. So there is a couple of things we need to take into consideration with how we do this, but I think it is the best gamble we can do. And as you can see here, this chassis also is going to give us a huge amounts of high, medium, and low speed, as well as a little bit of acceleration. We are once again sacrificing even more top speed, but we're going to get some of this back during the with the rear wing, and maybe a little bit with the side pods. We'll have to see. And also the loss of cooling here we're going to be getting from the side pods. So I'm very happy with the gains that we are getting here. So we're going to go ahead and do this rushed, and we want to put probably not an engineer on this project, to be fair. We just want to do it normally. And finally, we're going to go ahead and get the side pods made so we can start manufacturing them as early as possible. Now, for the side pod, as I said, we'll have to have a look here on how much cooling we can gain. We can gain upwards to 10%. Now, we could also lower the engine cooling to say 3% here, giving us more speed and everything. But I think we're just going to balance it a little bit like this so that we don't lose any more speed. We still gain a decent chunk of cooling. We're still going to be up towards 53-54%, which is acceptable. And we're still going to be getting cornering ability. We are throwing a little bit of it away, but we're throwing so little of it away that I'm actually kind of happy doing this even. And this wouldn't actually be a terrible idea. So we're going to go ahead and do it like this, get a little bit of that top speed back. We're not going to be getting as much cooling doing it like this, but even then, I would argue that it is worth it. So let's just get this underway. 1.5 million. We are getting poor, let's be honest. And the last thing we'll get going here is the suspension. And this one is going to be low medium speed, brake cooling, airflow. And while we are losing again top speed, it's fine. We're losing some high speed, that's fine too. It is kind of hard to come by medium speed. So I think we're actually going to toss it down to the bottom here because we aren't actually getting a lot of medium. 0.07. The low speed is going to be more valuable in the long run, as well as the brake cooling. So we'll do this. I would love to get some medium speed here, but we might redesign the piece some other time to do that. But yeah, with this, we have gotten all the parts that's going to be developed over the course of this first month. We only have 4.7 million, or 4.8, and these are going to go into 3 new projects: another underfloor, a front wing, and a rear wing. So we're still not in a great position. Let's just put it like that. We're still not in a position we can be happy with. We are financially walking a very thin line of having a car for the first race. We might just go ahead and build one car for Hamilton and just have, unfortunately, Schumacher be a little bit unhappy. And this is actually kind of funny. We can approve the new deadline. It's actually a very positive event. As you can see, we lose basically half development time. It gets done today, like so. Design complete underfloor. And I'll take that. That's actually really, really beneficial. But it did actually complete without problems. And as I mentioned earlier, we do need to make another one before the first race because we did invest CFD time. And that's basically what we're going to be looking at most of the performance gains. So with this, we're barely losing any dirty air, barely losing any top speed. And as you can see, this boost has gone up to us 0.141, 60, 85. It's an insane upgrade compared to the previous one. So already this underfloor is going to make us worthy of contention come the first race. 43 days. We are going to either have to rush it or put some engineers on it. And financially here, I think financially we just put engineers on it. That's the thing. Financially, the move here is to put engineers on this project to get it done. But we are going to need these engineers to get the front wing and the rear wing. But again, the money is the concern here. So for Bahrain, I think we're going to go with everything but front and rear wing, which is a terrible idea. And apparently they've upgraded the wind tunnel. Didn't actually have a look at this. Yeah, the factory is in terrible condition, but it's still level 2. Oh my god. Yeah, this is gonna be pain. They refurbished the suspension system and upgraded the wind tunnel, but the factory they did not touch. Team Hub is in horrible condition, same for the race sim. Hospitality Weather Center is in terrible condition. honestly, we can't really do anything about that because we don't have the money. So we're going to need to get a couple of races under our belt here to get that started. But I want to just show you again the difference between the underfloors, because this one, 141. And we get another 50% increase here because it was 39. It's going to be 60. And again, we don't lose the top speed there either. So safety time, particularly after a regulation change, can be incredibly potent. But I still think it is best to just focus it on one car. I just feel like it's more bang for your buck, if that makes sense. As you can see, making the chassis are going to be 1.1 million. And we're going to have to make some side pods, some suspensions, and another underfloor. So financially, we don't really have what is necessary to get started on any more project or speed them up a bit. So it's a bit rough, but it is what it is. You can also get a decent chunk of cornering. But again, my Red Wings are mainly just focused on the top speed, DRS effectiveness. And we're just going to have to run it normal here. It's going to be done before Melbourne. But honestly, as long as you have a new car before Baku, I think you can be very, very happy with what you've done. We're also going to have, in about a week's time, changing of the months. So that's going to give us a little bit extra money here. Now, how much money is that actually going to give us? And honestly, we should have waited with signing Hamilton, but there's no... Yeah, as you can see here, the monthly balance is just 1.8 million. We're going to need race money to be competitive. Okay, side pods. We should start the making of the front wing, really. But we also are going to, as mentioned earlier, going to need parts. So let's just get the side pods made before first race. We're going to have problems with manufacturing time as well, because we only have a level 2 factory. So while I would love to start another design project here, we just aren't financially capable of that. We're probably going to have to wait until we get past Bahrain before we actually start another project, just because, well, we're poor. That's the best way I can describe it. We're poor. We're not in any position to start a new project. So it is what it is. We'll just have to deal with it. And also, we do want to get the underfloors made as well before the first race. So both of those development slots are going to stay open. They just kind of have to. Even if we are getting money now, which we will, we're not going to be putting that money into anything just yet. Alonso is still godly, so we might go ahead and pick him up if we can afford it. What afford means in this situation is basically, can we pay, well, can we pay him? It's going to be the big one. Driver development upgrade, control for Schumacher, which is good. And let's go ahead and have a look at the pit crew again. This is going to be pretty rough, but I'll try and set up a good one. So this is a pit crew setup that I've ended up with. We are still focusing fairly balanced, honestly, because that is where the biggest error losses or chance of mistakes can be lessened from. And as you can see here, we haven't actually set anything up for after Bahrain, because I want to see what we look at in terms of fatigue. We're going to be going into this probably a little bit higher than we'd like to. Honestly, the best thing I can probably do here is put in another day of rest before the race weekend, and then we'll do something after. So we'll go with this. It should be all right, I think. Okay, we will try and pick up Alonso as well, because your drivers are actually hugely important this year's game. And very, very nicely there, a couple of our employees, the driver and the aerodynamics guy, actually leveled up, so we'll take that. Manufacturer is also complete of the side pods. I'm not going to start any other ones because, as you can see, the underfloor is done in just a single day. We have 2.2 million available to us, but that's not really enough to make a front wing and also get the underfloors that we need. So I'm rather going to be putting time into it after we get, well, the first 4 pieces on the car. And I think that's just going to have to be the way we do things. I would love to get the underfloor ready for Bahrain. But as you can see here, it's going to take 8 days each. So we can only get 2 ready for Jeddah. And again, financially, we aren't capable of running anything other than just normal approach here. So let's get 1 ready for Bahrain. And then we'll have the other one ready for the race after. And we can actually go ahead now and get the front wing design underway for low and medium speed, as well as brake cooling. And we're going to be sacrificing the airflow sensitivity. I just think it's going to benefit us more. But even then, as you can see, we aren't actually getting any huge gains. Looks like the Haas is actually pretty good at low speed cornering, incidentally. So, yeah, these gains are honestly pretty terrible. So we'll have to see. Oh, it's because I'm an idiot and turned the airflow front down. I was so confused there because it didn't make sense to me. And, well, now it does make sense to me why the gains were so terrible. It's because I am a silly goose. That was embarrassing. A little bit too much autopilot maybe, but yeah, I think we'll do it like this. Do a little couple of turns to the right here to get a little bit more lifespan. And that should be fine for those front wings. We're not going to rush them or anything like that, but we will put the maximum amount of engineers on it. And with that, we might have them ready for Australia. So yeah, we'll leave the other two slots open because we don't really have a choice. We don't have the money to get anything started. So that is fine. We're also going to go ahead here and put those two sidepods on the car. That should be fine. As you can see already, this is going to give us a bit of a boost on the grid. So we can be happy with that. I'm really looking forward to seeing how much of a gap we're going to be making just with what we are getting done for the first race. And getting the VIP experience before the first race is kind of a risk because you don't know exactly where you're going to end up. But we'll approve of that. 3 times payout, 2 times penalty. We're going to go ahead. We're going to eat that risk and hopefully come out on the side of victory. We can only hope. Also keep in mind that if we wreck the car, we're going to be very, very sad because, well, it's not going to be good for us. Now, underflow is the only thing we're lacking here. We have gotten one made. So let's go ahead and put everything on car 2. The underflow goes on car 2. The side pods have been installed. The chassis has been installed on both cars. And the suspension has been installed on both cars here. How does car 2 look in comparison to, say, the Red Bull? We're still 1 kph, a little bit over that, behind on speed. That's not bad. We still have the rear wing that we need to install. If you look at the extra weight here as well, the Red Bulls haven't really got many upgrades, but we're still way ahead on low, medium, high speed, which is kind of what we focused on. Not too far behind on dirty air or any sort of cooling release, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Red Bull develops over the course of this year. Compared to the AlphaTauri, we have a little bit of a... I don't know, actually. I think the Red Bull and the AlphaTauri is going to look pretty much the same, but we're actually comparing the wrong cars right now. Yeah, they're not too far off each other. Red Bull has advantage, medium, and high speed. But low speed advantage goes to AlphaTauri. They're close on these stats. AlphaTauri has the DRS. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I forgot to actually... No, I did put it on car 2. Okay. I was worried there for a second that I was comparing the wrong cars. As you can probably realize, I'm a little bit tired today, so I'm not completely following everything. So apologies for any silly errors that I do make. There's probably going to be a few. But it's been a week. I haven't been able to play or upload anything because I've been exhausted from work. I've also been a bit sick. So hopefully I can still keep things going. But yeah, we have the Bahrain Grand Prix. We have the car set up, Hamilton. And we don't really have the money to sign Alonso yet. So we'll have to see if he is available later on. He's still a free agent. He's still available here. So we might try and negotiate for him if we see that Schumacher is struggling after, say, Melbourne, maybe. It's just 3 races, but I'm kind of rootless like that, let's be honest. Finish position, I think we have a car here that can go onto the podium. So we're going to be a bit wilder and say that we're going to be finishing 1 car on the podium for the next 5 races. Disregard this, it's not actually accurate because we're getting hit with a double penalty and triple payout. So we're not actually going to get paid that much. Fastest lap would pay us 600. That's actually going to be wild. We're going to go for that. We're going to be sacrificing points to getting that if we can. And Q2, both cars. Q3, both cars. That's going to be a nice 1.5 million or 1.4 million if we succeed. Let's head to Bahrain. Let's see what we can do. So our first quali here did go kind of as anticipated. As you can see, Hamilton is slightly dominating Verstappen, head-to-head. Not really dominating, he's ahead, just straight up by a tenth. And in terms of show, the AlphaTauris, they are, both of them, in the top 10, alongside Russell and Gasly and the Alfa Romeo, which I just realized I did kind of skip over any team transfers. So let's just go through the teams really quickly right now. So the Red Bulls, still Verstappen and Leclerc, Show and Perez still in the AlphaTauri. We have Russell in the Alfa Romeo alongside Gasly. Stroll, Piastri in the Aston Martins. Ferrari, Sainz and Norris. Lawson and Giovinazzi in the Williams. Magnussen and Drogovic in Alpine. Tsunoda and Albon in McLaren. And the Mercedes are dead last with Ocon and Bottas leading them up. So, bit of an interesting situation here for the teams. Gonna be interested to see how that goes. Now, in terms of Schumacher, he is competitive-ish if you look at the fact that he's 1.5 tenths behind third. But we're going to have to see how it goes in terms of the race pace. If he can make up places or if he's just straight up going to get stuck in initially. Because that is my fear. We're pretty bad at following other teams. So getting stuck is incredibly likely. Now, around Bahrain, you actually benefit a little bit from running conserve or light. And as you can see, the earlier we pit, the more time we actually end up saving. And can even then run them standard. Of course, it depends on if we want to save tires to attack or not, but softs, just better than anything else. We want to stay on them as long as possible. We want to avoid the mediums as much as possible. So we're just going to do the pretty basic strategy here that we burn down the mediums quickly, go into the softs, and we will save these tires a little bit so that we have something to go on if we need to. But let's be honest here, I don't think you need to. Running standard is fine. But I'm willing to sacrifice a couple of seconds just so I have more time towards the end of the stint. We can, of course, start attacking last 5 laps of each stint to kind of get that second back. But the general idea is pretty simple. We save the tires as much as possible so we can fight in the event that we will need to. I don't think we're actually going to end up in much of a fight with Hamilton. I think he's actually just going to pretty much coast to win here, which is kind of insane to say, but I am kind of confident in that. Not the best medium, not the best confidence to start off with here, just a medium. High for Schumacher, but that's due to the new engineer mainly, so I don't have any big doubts. I still do think that it would be fun to get Alonso in the car, and it might allow us also to condense this episode a little bit if we end up dominating massively. So both Red Bulls on soft tires, AlphaTauri on soft and medium. Soft for most of the others, but I think there's some split strategies in there. So, looks like this is going to be a little bit interesting with Hamilton falling down to second. Not the best launch off the line, which is honestly fair since he is running a medium tire versus a soft. Schumacher, on the other hand, has jumped Perez. That is a very, very beneficial boon, so we'll take that. But yeah, as you can see here, UNICEF already kind of settled down. Kind of, again, very impressed with how Mercedes just seems to get destroyed in this game, because this is a common theme in my playthroughs, unfortunately, that they just keep on falling downwards, which is unfortunate. Now, already, Verstappen has pulled out a full second here on Hamilton, so once the RS opens, we're probably going to get overtaken, but as you can imagine, we're going to have a little bit of a work cut out for us here to try and close him down. But the first stint is, again, just a stint where we kind of just sit back, allow it to run its course, and once we're done with it, we'll pit, and that's when the race kind of really starts. Let's see if we can catch up to Verstappen before the end of this, first stint. We're getting increasingly closer to the pit window here. As you can see, Schumacher is running next to Piastri. He has fallen off from Perez, which isn't too surprising. But generally, Hamilton got the overtake done during with the help of the RS. Then we look back, has 7.5 seconds on Russell now. It's actually been fighting Verstappen quite a bit, so the Alfa Romeo seems to be a good car right now. But I'm considering whether or not we should go ahead and pit. For Hamilton, I think we're just going to keep him out until the tires are basically completely done for. Because, well, everyone else is running softs. They'll be pitting fairly soon as well. So by running them as long as we can, we'll have even more of an advantage later on once these guys go into the mediums. Let's face it, we've run the theoretically slowest tire right now. And the rest of the teams have to do the same. So Hamilton has an incredible advantage at the moment. Schumacher too, I think, can potentially make it up into a podium position. But we are 12 seconds off already. So he's going to have a bit of a harder fight. So I think we're just going to have to gamble on pitting him early. And as you can see, just pitting right now would give us a tie that is 2.7 seconds quicker. So we are going to come out towards the back of the grid. But I think it's going to be worth it just, looking at it from a long-term perspective. Because if we get in before everyone else, then we can take advantage of that difference in pace. And hopefully get Piastri, maybe even Paris if we're lucky. And that's going to be the goal. We also do have to consider the fact that we have very, very long pit stop times. So we need to make sure that we have good gaps, basically, to pit into. Hamilton, he is getting caught up here a little bit because of the DRS training between Verstappen and Russell. Both of them are now into the pits, so I think that tells us what we need to do. We need to pit, and we'll be going light on Hamilton's tyres to keep them alive as long as possible. Piastri comes out just barely ahead of Schumacher onto that medium tyre, so we'll be using some energy here aggressively in order to get that overtake done and hopefully clear him in short order here. I would think it would happen basically immediately, and it kind of did. Just try and get away from his DRS train would be nice. And we can see everyone else pitting. Paris is now in the box. It's going to come out ahead of us, but we have closed the gaps a little bit to the cars ahead. And we even had the Aston of Stroll block the other Aston there. So we can be happy with that. I think for now, we're just going to settle in behind Perez, do a little bit of recharging, and then try and get an overtake done once we have sufficient energy. So at the moment, it's looking really, really good. Hamilton is running third. There's 2 cars ahead, but again, both of them need to pit. And the distance to Verstappen is just 4 seconds here. So that is a little bit worrisome. Means they've been cutting down time. But the tire advantage should be firmly on our side. I'll be focusing on moving Schumacher up into hopefully a podium here. It should be doable with the help of energy. But honestly, it's probably also going to be a little bit challenging. He does have worse driver stats than the drivers that he will be fighting. But considering that ahead of him, there's only 4 cars that have pitted. Well, 5 actually. Show has pitted as well. I still think that we have a potential chance there where we might be able to fight him onto a podium, but it's going to be difficult. Let's see what we can do. We've had the first big incident of the season, and it's Sainz and Williams having a bit of a scramble. Basically, slows down the Mercedes even more. And for Sainz, that's probably not a good thing. Remember, the Ferrari started 11th and 12th, so they're not really having a good time. Now, Schumacher has been fighting Paris, but just is unable to get away. So I think we're just going to have to allow Paris to be kind of the gap that bridges up to Leclerc. And getting a podium might have been a little bit too ambitious with Schumacher, honestly, because even on the softs, he's kind of struggling to create gaps and to some degree also to keep up whenever Paris is pushing. So we'll have to see what we can do here. We are going to be going soft. Paris is going to be on softs also for his final stint, so potentially here, podium might have been a bit too, as I said, ambitious. 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th is looking a little bit more like what's actually going to happen. We'll see though. Lap 40 out of 57. So far things are going incredibly well. We're going to get Hamilton in here now to pit. Schumacher is currently running 4th, but that's going to change. Verstappen is pitted. Show is pitted. Magnussen is pitted. So we'll have to see exactly where he comes out. Didn't end up sending him a lap longer than I intended. I was a little bit too late in clicking enter the pits. That was my fault. But let's see it now. He's not going to be beating Show out. He's not going to be beating Perez out. So as you can imagine, it's going to be a bit of a rough end here for him. He had an instance of running wide. Nothing too major, but also nothing great. And Hamilton has pitted and is still massively ahead of everyone else. So he's been running pretty good so far. Looks like he can have pretty much just a clean sweep season, potentially, if we keep his, keep him clear of incidents. He did end up getting 20 plus seconds on Verstappen over the course of that last stint. As you can see, Verstappen is currently 18 seconds behind. He even pitted earlier than we did. So it's looking very, very good. Now for Schumacher here, all these medium runners should either need to pit or basically have dead tires by the end of this. So it's looking very, very probable that we'll be able to have a fairly decent end to this GP. Provided, of course, that we don't throw it away in a silly error, like say running into Albon now. But currently he's clearing people nicely, he's peak confidence, so let's see how we look. We'll get a little bit close to the end. With Russell now in the pits, coming out in 9th place, and that's going to be another one that's going to be a little bit difficult to clear. But yeah, Hamilton's doing really, really well. We'll have to see how well Schumacher does. Might be that we invest in Alonso. And if we do, I think we kind of have secured this season's results, which would be really, really nice. So I've opted for being a bit cocky here in the sense that we're currently pushing with Hamilton while, well, recharging, saving fuel. And the reason why is very simple. We have another fresh set of soft tires, which I want to use now to reclaim fastest lap, because currently it's held by Perez. Perez had a bit of an incident, nothing too major, but it did force him to pit again, putting him out of contention. And with that, Schumacher has now just Russell, Leclerc, and Show to clear. But I do fear that we don't have enough laps really to get that done. We do have only 3 laps to go, so it's time to start using some energy to close things down. And luckily for us, although it was an incredibly slow stop at 3.5 seconds, there was no real issues here for Hamilton. And we'll be going for, as aforementioned, the fastest lap attempt. It is a lot of money for us right now, so there's no real reason not to do it. And with it, we'll just go ahead now and push and deploy. And that should be good enough that we can, hopefully, claim that fastest lap. As Schumacher gets the overtake done on Russell, and now we'll start hunting down 4th and 3rd place. I doubt we're going to get them, but we can always hope. Hamilton, purple sector 1, pretty good. See what we get in sector 2. I would assume another purple. Indeed. And it should be a purple sector 3 and a fastest lap that I don't think anyone can contend with. So we'll take that. We'll slow down here just to play a little bit safe. Push a little bit less. Hopefully not risk a incident. And with Schumacher now on the final lap, we're just going to go ahead and deploy. Try and get a little bit of gap to Russell. Basically defend with our energy. Because 5th place is probably the best we can hope for. But honestly, 3 seconds behind, well, 5 seconds behind a potential podium, that's not horrible. That's something we can live with. And even with that extra pit stop, Hamilton a good 15 seconds ahead of Verstappen. That we can be very happy with. Sorry about my TV direction there.
Lewis Hamilton with the win today.
Yeah, I am a little bit scared that without energy, we might be a sitting duck now for the Alfa Romeo behind. Nah, we got there in the end. So 1st and 5th, nothing terrible. We're still missing a couple of pieces, but remember, the other teams are going to come back against us towards the end of this season. It's just the nature of things, because they'll develop past they haven't yet. But that was a good start here for the Haas team. Hamilton, pick up, win, fastest lap, everything. Very, very nice. Now, Schumacher in 5th isn't bad. It's better than we had with, say, Rick. But honestly, I want the Alonso Hamilton pairing if I can get it. I would love to have that. And with 5.2 million now in race rewards, we have a little bit of money to spend both on Alonso. I love Mick. Don't get me wrong. I'm probably going to end up getting Mick a championship at one point in this game. But having the Hamilton Alonso pairing in what is probably going to be their last season would be amazing as well. Front wing and rear wing, both are being developed, so nothing we really need to deal with there. We could potentially slap in the rest of our engineers here, cut down time a little bit. So that's fine. Maybe be able to make a 1 rear wing before Jeddah. But I want to go ahead here and have a look at our boy Alonso. How much do you want if we want to put you in car 1? Is 20 million going to be enough? Let us see. Probably also should just go ahead here and like cut it so that I can just finish up negotiations. Because Hamilton's did take a while, but we got there in the end. And I didn't realize this, but I want to also see here if basically for drivers that might retire soon, if you can negotiate indefinitely with them, because that seemed to be what happened to Hamilton. Okay, 2 seasons is too long. Very unrealistic. Very, very unrealistic. Not game of the year. So let's try something similar to what we gave to what we gave Hamilton. So let's start at 30 million. If not, we're just going to give him the full 35. And we'll put it down to 1 season. See if he likes that better. Okay, so we're there. But we need a race target bonus to get him to sign. Or just more money. So let's just put in another... Did we end up with 32.5 for Hamilton? I believe we did. And then we put in another 100k if you finish 19 or above. Isn't that what we had for him? I think that was it, so let's see how he feels about this. Contract accepted. Honestly, we have to go for this, but I believe we'll now have a negative monthly carryover. So that's going to be interesting. How are we looking financially right now? Monthly balance. Negative 600k. We're not making money anymore. But honestly, we should be making more money because having Alonso and Hamilton show up for the media appearances rather than Schumacher and Sargent, I have a feeling that should bring in a lot more money. So, yeah, very, very unrealistic experience. But we have now both Alonso and Hamilton, and we can have both of them kind of fight each other. But yeah, I wasn't missing it. Well, I thought I missed the driver transfers, but honestly, we didn't get an update. Oh, there they are. So let's just have a quick look here, see if we see anything particularly different. I think we were pretty much on the money. I'm looking forward to seeing how Tsunoda performs personally. But yeah, Piastri, just 83 at this point, is kind of criminal. Nothing too surprising. Behrman as a reserve. Porsche is now 84. Assume we'll see him in a car soon. But yeah, Alonso, Hamilton. Gotta love it. Let's jump to Jeddah and see if we manage a 1-2. And if we do manage a 1-2 at Jeddah, I think we are getting to a point where we are going to be a little bit dominant. Now, you might be questioning, of course, why I... Why are you... apparently, me picking up Alonso was a big shock for the team principals. Okay, underfloor now manufacturing has been completed. I think we're going to go ahead and manufacture at least one more underfloor, probably 2. Just get started on that. And honestly, that's also the reason why I'm not starting any more projects right away. We can't really, because we need to get these 2 made. And then we'll just focus on mainly wind tunnel time until we're back positive in both spare parts and also in terms of money. Because we have a little bit too little money for my liking. Let's go ahead and get the pit crew set up for the month of March. So this is what we ended up with. We'll be fine for Jeddah because I forgot to set up that last week of pit crew because I got too focused on Alonso and wanted to see how we could do. We basically had a week of rest here, which is honestly kind of fine. Now, going into Jeddah, we're going to get about 35% if things go as planned. So we put in 3 days of rest. And the same here, basically, for Australia. I have a little bit of a wiggle room here so that we can put in more gym time if we want. This should be fine, and we kind of done the same here. I'll just use that as a base. I think working forwards, it'll just make life a little bit easier for when the times I get too excited or, you know, when I'm tired to begin with and some things just gets forgotten. But yeah, chance of mistake lowered by another percentage points, which honestly all that we really will be able to be doing to do this year. Lowering that error chance as much as possible because there's no way we're getting that time under 3 seconds over the course of the season. It's just going to be a little bit too difficult. But yeah, let's head to Saudi Arabia and see if we can snatch a 1-2. Let's go. Before we head into Saudi though, there's 2 things. We have a new ATR period and we also have the rear wing design completed. And as mentioned, I do want to get one of these done before the next race, but as you see, we're currently on emergency mode. So I can't actually make it today. And if we have a look at the calendar, the reason why is because it's a factory event day. So I'm going to have to want to jump to the 4th. But honestly, I think I might just be lazy here and get them made for Melbourne. Although DRS is pretty powerful around Jeddah. It's just such annoyance that I can't get a base project running because of that other issue, so to speak. We could also be very, very brave here and immediately go for a high-speed rear wing with the CFD time. Probably wouldn't be a horrible idea, but let's see how that actually stacks up, what we can expect. Because if we could get a little bit of the extra speed we're missing, we've gotten a lot of our cornering back, in all my honest opinion. This alone would be another 5% compared to the current one. So rear wing wouldn't be a horrible idea, actually. It's not the most terrible idea I've ever had. I do want to check two other things though before we do that, and that is the underfloor. I just want to see how the numbers compare to the one that we currently have equipped, mainly in the low speed and the high speed. I want to see how much better or worse it is. Let's see. Want to focus these three, like so. So we're getting almost 0.020 here. We're getting 0.06. So if we do 2 iterations, it's going to be a pretty good boost. And if we want to be really, really cheeky, we could do this. This is basically a single KPH while we retain everything else. So it's pretty close to the same effect that we would be getting from that rear wing. But the rear wing is so far behind everything else, and not to mention, I think the suspension is the one that we should focus on. Because if you remember, at the start of this episode, the suspension was one of the projects that hadn't been researched at all. So suspension for this car is pretty weak to begin with. So it would be beneficial if we could get a bit of a boost going on it. Now, as you can see here, we're losing a bit of low speed cornering. Did I turn airflow front down again? I did. I don't know why I'm doing that, but if I make a punt like that, please yell at me because I do deserve it. I think I'm just getting a little bit too used to these sliders, so I go on autopilot, but I have the wrong template in my head, so yeah, it's bad. Let's see, this probably would be worth it, honestly, because we are using the new suspension. But is it going to be great? Probably not. Also, remember last time, Schumacher didn't have every new part. I think we're just going to go for the rear wing. Because one of the weaknesses that we usually have is top speed. Using a second period on the red wing, the rear wing isn't a horrible idea, I feel. I feel like it can be worth it. And we've already gone through one development cycle now. So we're going to get an extra kind of boost on the next one. So I do think that it's going to be worth it. And we could also go ahead here and say invest into high-speed cornering. Elevate that a little bit. Low-speed cornering. One of these things we can elevate. And I think we're just going to go ahead and invest a little bit in the medium aspect of this rear wing as well. Although drag reduction, DRS, delta are what is the main focus. You can do that, but even then you can see we're getting 0, 10, 10, 17. Losing a little bit dirty air. 1 full KPH, 23% DRS effectiveness. And remember, we're going to get another iteration of this rear wing afterwards. And when you use CFD time, you do want to use it rushed because we're not looking for... It doesn't change how much gain you get from the CFD. Doesn't matter, use rushed, it's just better. Intense will not give you any extra gain from the CFD, as far as I've seen. Intense will give you more expertise, but that's basically just because you're running it intense. You get 1.5 of the base. Doesn't really have any effect on the CFD time, again, as far as I've seen. So we'll rush this, get it done as quickly as possible, and that should be a pretty dominant rear wing that we can use for the rest of the season once we get that, and the iteration after that again. Yeah, it's difficult to stop on the correct date, so we now just wasted a date of development on this rear wing. And as you can see, it's going to take us 10 days just to get them made, so getting them for Melbourne is basically what we're looking for. And again, I know that rear wing doesn't look very dominating compared to what we're currently looking at. 107 is just 0.20 kph. Could get far more from that from the underfloor, perchance. We can also just make a regular underfloor like that. But as you can imagine here, it's the one after that that's going to be the big one. So that's one that's going to decide if I was silly or if it was a good choice. I think it's fine to just go ahead and make these two rear wings. They're going to be beneficial for, well, Melbourne. So it's A-okay by my estimate. yeah, looks good. Let us get ready for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Just gonna make sure that we have every part on the car. I believe it's the side pods. Nope. Is it a suspension? The underfloor is the one we're missing on the secondary car. And I'm just double checking. There we are. I really should have probably waited another day before I started recording, but honestly, it's been over a week without a video. So, yeah, even if I'm a little bit woozy, I hope you'll forgive me. Let's go to Jeddah and see what we can do with Hamilton and our boy, Alonso. Now, for race prep, both cars into Q2, that should be a given. Qualifying position, both cars in the top 10, should be a given. Fastest lap, we'll have to go for that. And as you see now, we now see the more realistic rewards from this streak. And with both Alonso and Hamilton, unless they crash into each other and take each other out, that should be easily done. Let's see how this race goes. So, not unexpected, with both Hamilton and Alonso being within a tenth of each other, and Verstappen a couple of tenths behind that again, we basically have ended up in a bit of an interesting situation here where we are very likely to dominate throughout this entire season, I'd argue. So, might be a little bit boring, but as I said, if we do end up dominating, the rest of the season is probably going to get summed up in the next two parts. Probably. We'll see. Because again, the other teams also have parts that they need to develop. We still have two parts missing. But I would assume that we'll be seeing some leaps in development. But honestly, at the moment, it does look very, very promising for us. Now, I also want to have you, well, peek your eyes at one of the other things here. So, as you can see in Q1, Alonso's best time was a 27.7. He had the fastest time. Now, and the slowest time was a 28.5. So, for this quali, the slowest car was 8 tenths behind the fastest car. So, right now, the cars themselves are pretty close to each other. But driver quality and also the fact that we have, well, a fairly dominated car is probably going to help us out a ton, particularly in these first few races. But the grid is incredibly close at the moment, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that actually ends up, well, developing. Now, in terms of strategy here, I think it's pretty simple what we'll do. We're going to be starting on the mediums. We're going to run them attack for the first lap or so. Then we're going to tune them down to standard, and we're going to be doing this for both cars. We're basically just going to be kind of taking it easy on the mediums. We're going to take it easy on the softs, but one stopper here is going to be what works best. I've been trying several different two-stoppers. Can't really get it to work around here, but to be fair, with both Alonso and Hamilton and a fairly dominating car, I do believe that we could get it to work, but honestly, the thing with the dominating car is that we don't need to make it work. We can just take it a little bit slow and dominate through that. We even have a hard runner behind us. If he gets ahead of the Red Bull, that's going to be huge. So let's see if that actually happens. Nope. Fell straight back behind the Ferrari, which honestly what we kind of expect when you are starting on the hard tire immediately. But this was a really good start from us. Both cars away. 2.5 tenths down to Verstappen from Alonso. Well, actually half a second. It's on interval. So already we are really quick compared to the other cars. And Verstappen is on soft tires, so if we can kind of make him spend those tires, we'd be very, very happy. But for now, honestly, we can go ahead and just turn the cars down to standard. We need to keep these tires alive. And while having the cars running back to back, basically have Hamilton or Alonso, they're probably going to be interchanging a lot, kind of protected against Verstappen, just from one guy in the DRS train. So I think we'll be fine. We've had a crash on track. Piastri has crashed. Let's see if it's a big one.
Now this, I think, was at turn 13.
Locks up and a somewhat light touch, so I assume he will be continuing. And he has. I was scared for a second because I thought it was the Aston far back that we were going to be seeing smash into someone else. But that was not the case. But yeah. Currently, DRS has been activated. We'll be seeing over the course of this lap if Verstappen can get the overtake done. It's still one long DRS train with some gaps starting to form slightly, which show on the heavy, on the hard. But already we are pulling away from Verstappen, and honestly, we are going to need to go neutral now. But I think if we want to, we can just recharge and then launch another attack, and then we're away from Verstappen. So let's see if we can pull that off.
Keep pushing.
We have a virtual safety car. So something has happened. Piastri has had his second incident by the look of things.
Understood.
Bit of a firework going on there. Piastri crashed on turn
Let's
17.
follow the drivers then through turn 16. Within a split second, the impact's made. Well, following a crash
That
like
is a
that,
bit unfortunate, but it is what happens when drivers are low in confidence. They tend to crash out. And this does give us a chance now to just recharge, save a bit of tire and everything. But I think we are actually gonna just push fuel, deploy once the safety car is, virtual safety car is done with. And I think that's gonna be enough for us to create the gap that we want to Verstappen. Virtual safety car is ending, with both cars to deploy. And we'll see here now if we can get away. We're actually gonna get it done in a not too bad place for us, honestly. And with the RS, I think we'll be seeing Alonso overtaking Hamilton here. But yeah, we have half a kilogram of extra fuel. We should be able to just push away from Verstappen. Both of our guys pushing together is kind of dangerous. But I think over the course of this lap, we'll be seeing this gap just increase. 7 tenths, 6 tenths. Maybe he'll be coming back, we'll see. The gap to Hamilton and Alonso's also kind of expanding, but we're leaving Sainz behind. But as I said, do this a couple of times and we'll end up in a situation where I'm pretty sure we'll be able to leave Verstappen behind. He's already on that 1 second margin, so I think we probably have gotten it done, almost at least. So at the end of this lap, we'll go ahead and tune down the energy usage. But unfortunately, he's still within DRS, so probably didn't manage to give him the slip on this one. Yep, did not. But we can try again in a little bit. We have yet another virtual safety car. We have been unable to leave Verstappen behind until he, as it turns out, crashed. So that is a bit unfortunate for
I'm not
the Red
quite
Bulls.
Sure what's happened there.
But he was keeping up with us pretty well until this point. Similar to Piastri, so didn't think he would be out, but unfortunately he's apparently had a little bit of a harder hit, so he's just straight up out. But this puts us in a very dominating position with 13 seconds ahead of Norris, and basically almost a pit stop ahead already. So I'd argue we are incredibly safe. Some cars here are taking the advantage to pit. If we take a quick look at the reports here, you save about 5 seconds pitting under the virtual safety car, which means that we don't really need to. What I think we're going to do instead is to tune our tires up to attack and just push these tires for all they're worth. Now that the safety car is ending, it did kind of end in a little bit of a bad spot for us, honestly, at the, well, not fully at the start of the straight, but towards the end, middle. So the other cars there would show, for instance, as you can see, did gain quite a lot of time on us due to that. So depending on where a virtual safety car ends, some drivers are going to really lose out, some drivers are going to really win. And I think we'll be seeing that now when Show crosses the line. Yeah, he's almost 3 seconds quicker than
Window
us.
is now open.
So,
Understood.
as you can imagine, not the greatest, but that will be fine. But yeah, we'll push these tires into the abyss, and then we shall pit. We're getting very closer to the pit window. These tires will last for almost one more lap, so since Alonso is losing tire faster, we're going to be pitting him quicker, although he's running second. And we're going to be pitting Hamilton on this following lap, and that should be fine. We're seeing particularly Show running a lot more, but Alonso coming out in fourth is pretty promising, and honestly should have no problems getting the overtake done. Sorry, my stomach is not cooperating with me right now, so if there's some weird pauses, that's because of that. But yeah, Alonso out in fourth, that should not be a big problem. He should be able to get the overtakes done easily, and he is gonna barely sneak out ahead of Hamilton, but Hamilton was a little bit more aggressive. So they're still in the same positions, but honestly, this is personally fine with me. Jeddah is red flag notorious, so even if we get a red flag right now, we still have fresh softs for Hamilton, for Alonso, that we can switch on to if we need to. And just now, Show stepped out of the way. Hamilton got Russell. And I think we'll be seeing Alonso here getting the same move done with a little bit of energy help fairly quickly here. So far, I think we can be very, very happy. And there we go, Russell into the pits as well. We'll see if we can keep this going until the end of the race. So we opted for kind of the same strategy that we went with at Bahrain to secure fastest lap. We've been able to actually eke out more than enough of a gap here where we can safely pit. In theory, 19 seconds is usually how long it takes to pit here. So we're going to allow Alonso here to actually get in first. We've had Hamilton recharge, and we're going to go ahead, get him in there, get him into basically recharge the, well, warm up the tires, then go for fastest lap. He should come out ahead of Show, but if we have a pit stop error, which we have so far been able to avoid, that's not necessarily a guarantee. But Alonso does come out in second, which is again why we're taking these risks. And Hamilton has even more time to go on, so I would expect him to come out, possibly even clear of Alonso, because Alonso's going to run conserve, while Hamilton is running, or light rather than conserve, while Hamilton has been running full attack. So in terms of differences there, that should be fine. A little bit underheated here, so we probably do need to turn attack probably a couple of corners earlier. But for Alonso now, full attack, push, get things done. Hamilton, not really a slow stop, but I am going to order him to get out of the way of Alonso here, so Alonso can do his kind of fast lap. And then we'll do the same for Hamilton afterwards if we can. So don't fight, teammate. That should be fine. It's 1.5 seconds, but I kind of expect, honestly, what we can do here instead is just have him kind of help, honestly. Because I think Alonso is going to close in within DRS distance. And now Hamilton will be helping with DRS for the last few corners here. And that should be fine.
Got no DRS.
Fastest lap has been set. Let's see if Hamilton can beat that without DRS help. Kind of doubt that. And even then, that last lap, 4 seconds quicker than Show's current lap. So yeah, I do think that we have currently a very, very dominating car. And I think we're going to be seeing more of the same come Melbourne. But yeah, Hamilton, unfortunately, could not beat the time, but worth noting that it was just 2/10 off, even with the current situation. So yeah, Hamilton's gonna win, unless he spins on the final lap here. Alonso second. Then we have a good 15 seconds down to Show, and the Ferraris have done a bit of a resurgence alongside the Mercedeses. So that's very interesting to see. But it does kind of tell you again that the first few races in the season are very, very much
Checkered flag.
very much difficult to judge, because not every team has every upgrade. They haven't, upgraded the correct parts. The AI is notoriously bad at that. I feel like they should be better. But yeah, as you can see, it changed from the Ferraris having a very, very bad weekend last time out to 4th and 5th this time. Show in 3rd, Leclerc in the 6th. Unfortunately there from Verstappen. The Alphas are still in it. Mercedes have done a even better resurgence, I dare ask, from back of the grid to 8th and 9th. So I'd say they would be happy with that. But let's face it, Nora didn't actually do terrible last time around. He got in the points. But yeah, this is much better from the Ferraris, as well as, of course, the Mercs. And the Astons are not looking good at the moment. But yeah, another very, very good race weekend from us. Let's see if we can keep it up until the end of the year. And if we take a look here at the fastest pit stops, the fastest pit stops, which are on the Alpines, have a second on us, generally. So yeah, the pit crew, not great. But we have a car that kind of invalidates the pit crews. The pit crews don't matter because our car is too good, which is a funny thing to say. And very disrespectful, let's be honest. But it is the truth currently in this game. We'll have to see if we can keep this going, though. Australia, if we dominate as we have here, I think I'm just going to do a quick summary of that. And then, as I said, we'll probably try and condense the rest of the season, potentially into just 1 or 2 parts, depending on if the teams do give us a bit of a fight. We do have the new front wing coming in though in 2 days. Let's take a quick look at that. Everything has passed inspection. The fact that we're using 12.5% of the engine every race weekend is worrisome, but it's not really a cause for concern just yet. Okay, front wing. The rear wing has been delayed. That is a bit unfortunate, but we'll just do nothing but approve. The front wing has been made. We're going to manufacture it, and we just barely get enough time to get that done for Melbourne. So let's go ahead and start that project. There's other projects that we can start. We don't really have any slots, so I think the next order of business is just going to be save up a little bit of money. I don't want to start any more projects right now because we are running a deficit, just based on monthly. The only reason why we're making money is because we're winning races. So, as you can imagine, that's not really a good situation to find yourself in, but it's just one that we have put ourselves in on our own initiative, so to speak. We will have a look at the car though before Melbourne because we will be getting the front wing as well. I'll also have a look at the pit crew to see if the plan that we put in was effective or if they're going to be tired. Again, if we get a tired pit crew, that's going to be very, very negative because we're already slow. And as you can see, this front wing here does take quite a bit of the high speed out of it. I might have made a mistake on this one. We'll see. I'm a little bit worried now, honestly, because again, I've been a little bit woozy while recording this. Let's just have a look at the car, and I'll correct any errors next time around. Last in top speed, almost. First in everything else, except for cooling and dirty air, is what we like to see. So I do believe the car is fairly dominant, particularly in low speed, even in the high speed here, which is going to be good for this track. We are getting kind of dangerously low there with the dirty air tolerance. A rainy GP could be our doom, but again, there's so few rainy GPs over the course of a year that it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make to win everything else. Kind of like Red Bull and Singapore last year in real life. But as you can see, we aren't actually that far behind Red Bull in terms of top speed, and they're currently the 5th fastest team. What about AlphaTauri? They're the quickest, 3rd, 5th, 4th, so yeah, the research we did definitely has carried over. They're lacking a little bit on cooling though, dirty air. But again, that's the kind of car we build, so it's not really a big surprise. Finish position, I think we're going to have 1 driver on the podium. Maybe 2. But yeah, basically we're just doing 1 because usually when I do 2, I know this is like superstition and jinxing, but I feel like they just get an extra 100% chance of crashing whenever I say, oh, both cars are going to end up on the podium. It feels like I'm tempting fate, so let's just not do that. Let's speed through Australia here, see if we dominate or not. I think we're going to dominate, so let's get through it really, really quick here. So Australia started, as Australia usually does. Red flag. We did qualify 1st and 2nd, so we're still fairly dominant.
Right, let's have a look.
But yeah, the Red Bull, unfortunately this time, involved in an incident. Rear ends the Ferrari, and I'm pretty sure the Ferrari took out another car.
And that won't do their
But
confidence any good.
that should be 3 cars out immediately. At least we kept our noses clean. But yeah, we're gonna just stay with the same strategy. We're gonna be running medium, soft, soft. It's gonna be probably one of the fastest strategies we can do around here. So we're just gonna go no changes. There's no need. Sainz Leclerc out. I do believe Russell got hit. Yeah, he did. You can actually see it here. He did take some damage to the rear. That is 3 potential point-scoring teams out. That's going to make things a little bit interesting. And as you probably have noticed, Verstappen qualified pretty poorly. So it's going to be interesting to see, again, how these teams develop. Currently, Hamilton 20 seconds ahead. Not really accurate, but as one might expect here, we are, I would think, be fairly dominant here. And funnily enough, Leclerc did get a 10-second penalty there, which honestly I might just mention, but this year there was some 10-second penalties for Magnussen at Jeddah, and the reason for that is that they changed the regulations this year, so now most things that were 5 seconds is now 10 seconds, so this actually isn't a penalty, that people don't just ignore the rules in order to gain an advantage and then make up time to,
we've
you
got
know,
a
make
yellow
up those
flag.
5 seconds. Like, take the penalty, doesn't matter, I'll make up for it. Verstappen this time involved. Ooh, that's unfortunate, but he's still running. A little bit unsure who will be to blame there. Looked like, looked like Gasly kind of turned a little bit early, but we'll see. But yeah, for the time being, as mentioned, we do seem fairly dominant. I think we will be this race, so we'll just allow things to pass. Magnussen in a podium position for Alpine is insane. So let's see if we can keep this up until the end of the race. With the exception of that red flag and the incident with Verstappen, there wasn't really much going on this race, and we ended up 1-2, kind of like we expected. And I was mistaken. We qualified first and third, but we jumped them immediately, so not really that much of a big deal. Show here actually qualifying second, but yeah, not really anything too major. We won, we got fastest lap, and Verstappen ended up 8th, so he did a little bit of work there. Tsunoda scoring points in McLaren, Drogovic in the Alpine, and Magnussen ended up 6th with Bottas in 7th. So AlphaTauris are doing good. Norris did well with the Ferrari to be outside the points a couple of races ago to a podium, which is very nice. Bit unfortunate for the other Red Bull and the other Ferrari. The Alfa Romeos got screwed over by Russell having a hole in his rear wing. Gasly having that incident with Verstappen. He got definitely hit harder out of the two. But yeah, generally not a good day for the rest of the grid here. Although, to be fair, the Williams and the McLarens did well going up the grid order. Now with that, Hamilton still has a pretty healthy lead here. 36 points after, well, 3 races. Alonso sitting at the first race already, almost up into second. So I'd say we are looking incredibly healthy here, already very, very dominant. And AlphaTauri is looking good, but they're probably helped a little bit by Leclerc crashing that last race. But I think the way that we're going to go forward is pretty straightforward. It's going to be more of a summary of how the season is going. We'll be having a look at interesting moments in certain races. But generally, I'll be trying to condense the season up until the point that we get challenged or the season ends, whichever happens first. However, that's going to have to be next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. It's been, well, a little bit over a week without anything uploaded. Again, been a tad tired, been a bit sick. We've had a bit of flu season at the place where I work. Bunch of the staff was sick, bunch of the kids were sick, so hopefully we're done with that now. We'll have to see though. I have my hopes, but can't make any guarantees. Could just be that I was extremely tired. But yeah, thank you for watching again. Hope you've enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Yeah, that's it. Bye bye.